Afternoon, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Obviously, already been prepping for a little over a week for a great Louisville football team. A lot of talent, a lot of NFL talent all over the entire roster. Very well coached football team, very physical, fast, explosive. They've got probably the most and more an abundance of proven playmakers on their football roster right now, and certainly they find a way to get them the ball, but it's not just relegated to their skill guys. I mean, they've got really good, athletic, big offensive linemen. Their running backs get downhill, can get outside, through you, around you. Their defensive line has been extremely disruptive. Top 10 red zone team, both offensively and defensively. Top defense on total defense in the conference as well. And certainly they've battled a lot of balls, gotten their hands on a lot of interceptions as well. I believe they lead the conference as well in passing defense. So, again, just a really, really good, really talented football team, and a tremendous opportunity for our team on Friday night.
It's funny because we often think of Jeff's teams as not one-dimensional, but he's an offensive coach, and that's how they won a lot of games is with playmakers on that side of the football. But he has a lot on defense too. How much do they sort of jump off the sheet at you?
Yeah, it really pops. It's as a complete of a team as we have faced or will face all year long, both in their play style and in their talent levels. They have done an excellent job forcing negative plays, disrupting the schedule of the offense. They just play really hard, really fast. They communicate really well. They give you a number of different looks, both up front and on the back end. Disguise their coverages really well. And they get to the ball with bad intentions. They force a lot of turnovers, but just a really impressive football team.
And just speaking of Jeff Brom on the offensive side, we praised him this morning on the radio. The last two games against him, they've been high-scoring, back-and-forth games. Just what did you learn about his play-calling style, the way he works in the last years of playing him?
It's a lot of respect for him. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, play caller in college football, and has been doing it for a long, long time. And again, they just do a great job with their personnel, with their football team.
How'd you come out of the bye week, just in terms of personnel and getting work done and the balance of rest versus building stuff?
I think over the years we've found a pretty good formula, one we feel comfortable with, where we're getting the right amount of both. We're also investing in strength and conditioning and nutrition and recovery. Modern day, in terms of that, is just taking on a whole new life of its own, right? The ability to get your players to optimal levels as it relates to readiness and physicality and whatnot. But we did practice, and we practice hard. But we invested in what we're doing schematically, what we've done well, what we haven't done so well. Technically, what we have done well and not so well also, from the use of our hands to our hat position, pad level, eye discipline, whatnot, communication. So we challenged our guys and at the same time provided them opportunities to just get better with extra meeting time, extra walkthrough time, and of course, extra practice time while still focusing on the importance of our opponent on Friday night.
You talked a lot during your time here about how it was not a knock at one time to play special teams. It didn't mean you were a third team guy. You wanted your best players out there playing a lot of special teams. The value, I forgot to ask you last time we talked to you a week ago, but the value of what Wesley did on the hands team at Florida State, just to have somebody make those two game-saving plays when you really think about it, the importance of having veteran guys, really good players contribute on special teams.
We do. We have a lot of our frontline guys, when I say frontline guys, starters or contributors all over special teams, because it can never be that phase that you do in between offense and defense. Coach Johnson would always tell us, you got to win 2 or 3 phases to win the football game. And so we've improved a lot on special teams, and we're facing a team that is very aggressive on special teams. Got us with a fake last year that really changed the momentum of the game. And so we understand that. We understand the value of, the way our punter and kicker have been playing, and the fact that they have, what's arguably the best returner in the game as well, I think he has 2 touchdowns already and has a couple other big returns. He averages over 20 yards a punt return. So the importance of that has been emphasized, and that's also a big area of focus throughout the bye week.
You've emphasized, since being here, the importance of a team being player-led. During this bye week, did you see any positive signs of that continuing to take hold accountability or player-led leadership?
We impose that upon them all the time, and there comes a point in time on every roster where the guys that you send out for the coin toss, right? They've got to take over, right? There comes a point in time where those guys just got to, from an alpha standpoint, as a leader, as a real deal dude, like you've got to set the tone in the locker room, in meetings, and in practice. And we're seeing that more and more. This is a really hard-working group of dudes. They're tough, they're driven, they're really interested in just getting better and winning, and they have zero issues getting pushed, because we push hard. You guys have been around practice, you see the way that we push. They are very in tune and very much, I would say almost, they appreciate the fact that we push and that we're on them hard and that we're tough on them. It's not easy to be a Miami Hurricane, but they recognize that they have an opportunity to do really good things, but that we're nowhere near where we need to be, and the only way to get there is through working at it and accomplishing that throughout the week to make that carry over to Fridays and Saturdays.
Mario, is there anything you had to change up just with the quirky schedule the last couple of weeks? Game by week, Friday night game. Like, is there anything you had to change up just the last couple of weeks to just keep things fresh, or make things work with the weird schedule?
I think if I start making a big deal of it, then it becomes a big deal with the players. It is what it is. You're never going to get the perfect schedule. You're never going to have the perfect anything in life, and I think it's important for us. And we're all adults. I think our players are adults. It's important for us to set the tone with that as well. Whatever comes our way, all right, so what? Like, now what? Let's roll. Let's do what we do. So I think what we all know is that the bottom line is at Friday at 7 p.m., the ball will be placed in the tee and kicked off. And between the time we've had and that time, we've got to do our best to prepare.
Corey's obviously a new member of the group, but when you get to this point in the year and just seeing how there's a lot to like, obviously. I know there's a lot still to work on, a lot to clean up, but there's a lot for you guys to like. How much of that is a byproduct of continuity amongst the staff, and that people have better understanding of their jobs and their roles?
It's you probably never ever get to tell the full story till way down the line, right? As years go by, and I think continuity, the right type of continuity. You could have the wrong type of continuity, and that could sink you, and sometimes your best allies and your best advocates are in the building, and sometimes the worst ones are, right? So I think we've done a really good job selecting, streamlining, making the right additions, to our staff, all those things combined to get to a place where I think these guys, the people in the building, the men and women, from academics to development, recruiting, they all are like, they're really in, and they add to the culture. They're all about the culture. They understand that, we're not perfect. We have our warts like anybody else, but that, like, deep down at the core of what we do, what we want to do, like, it's real, it's demanding, it's gonna make and get the best out of everybody. And so they bring it, and we're getting better. We're getting better as a staff, just like we are as a team and a program. So, and just like we talk about how we still have a ways to go, we still have a ways to go as a staff. Corey's brought a lot to the table. He really has. He's as you know, he's a special dude. He really is. He's a special one, and he's only going to keep doing better and better things.
To kind of follow up on Adam's question about scheduling. It is scheduled what it is. You can't change it. But Friday night in South Florida is high school football. Mm-hmm. Would you almost rather not ever see Friday night games, or how does it affect the bigger picture of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, in college football, it's, in my opinion, it was meant for, I'm not in any way, shape, or form has anything to do with this particular game. It's been scheduled for a while, and we haven't discussed anything about it that's negative. If you look at big picture wise, you always would love for Thursdays and Fridays to be high school, and it belongs to them, and then Saturdays for college, and then Sundays for the NFL. But there's so much football to be played. I think there's 50 straight days of football, so there's enough to go around. And I'm all about it. Play football every day, as long as humanly possible, and the world will be a better place.
Mario, with the pass game, we've seen a lot of CJ, we've seen a lot of Malachi. What are your thoughts on just the rest of the receiver core and the importance of finding maybe a third or fourth guy to step up help to spread everything around in the passing game?
Well, I think they are there, and I think the ball finds you in this offense, right? This is the way that we run our offense. It's not designed for one guy to get the ball all the time. It is designed to attack coverage structures, right? What the defense is giving and taking away. And so if you do what you're supposed to do in this offense, the ball finds you. So you'll see from last year to the year before now this year, certain guys have more statistical impressive games than others at different times of the year in different games. So we're not concerned about that. I think the players understand that that's the way this offense is structured, and that as long as they bust their butts and do the right things and play really, really hard, which we have to play harder and get better, that the ball will find them. And it's all about doing your job, man. Doing your job and making routine plays work out in a big way.
Does it surprise you that the buy-in has been so high on that front, just because it was the same thing last year too? But kids are playing for money now, and you're paid commensurate with how you perform in a lot of ways. And right, wrong, indifferent. That's the way it is now. A kid's going to look at 6 for 109 and say I played really well, and see one catch for 11 yards, say I didn't. And yet your kids don't seem to complain much about that. How are you avoiding that Pandora's box?
We're just being very honest. I mean, we work really, really hard, and 6 for 109 might have 12 mental errors and 4 poor blocks to it. So you're going to be ripped just as much as the guy that ran the wrong route and dropped the ball. So, I mean, we're very big picture oriented, and by that I mean team first mentality, knowing that, for example, the 16 scouts that were out there today, they're not necessarily all interested in stats now. They want to know how you play the game and what you bring to the table and all that stuff. I mean, it screams on film, from the way you come out early for walkthrough to whether you have your shirt tucked in and you're busting your butt in the run game as a receiver, or whether you're finishing your blocks on offense. So I think that stands out, and I think we also we're getting better. So it's probably a little bit harder to play at Miami than it was a few years ago, and hopefully more and more good players want to come here so that the competition gets better. Because the one thing we are seeing, competition that is bringing out the best out of our guys, and that's the only way to fulfill our promise to them, to make them the best that they can be. So we're going to stay along those lines.
Every game has had 60,000 tickets out, or something like 60,000 or more for every game. I know when you're down there, you don't notice if it's 6 million or 6 people. I get that, but how much do you think that matters to the kids when they know that there's a crowd there behind them that they're going to appreciate?
Well, we all notice. I mean, once the ball's kicked off, I mean, you might as well be on outer space, right? I mean, you're focused on what you're doing. But yeah, it's the support of the community, the passion of the community, the diehards that have come out, the new ones that have come out, the way that they've packed that stadium and brought the noise and brought that juice and energy. It's been awesome. And now, just like, we have to continue to get better. And when we do some good, sustain that energy, that's what we need out of our fan base as well. We got to bring it, man. We play some really good football teams. Hard Rock is a place that we take a lot of pride in, going in there and playing well for our people, our families, our community, for the Canes, right? And so just as importantly is, we need them there, and we're always going to, demand their absolute best every time they come out.
Looking at Bryce Fitzgerald, obviously he's had some big plays super early in his career. The fact that he came in later than everyone else and hit the ground running, just what was the work he had to put in to basically catch up and then kind of surpass people and get on the field?
I mean, it's very similar, I guess. Guys have done it here, like what Mark Fletcher, right? OJ was another one, right? It's, football's a developmental sport, and you never can completely predict if it's going to happen day 1, year 3, year 4. We've had so many guys, probably equal talent levels, that have gotten it at different points in their career. So credit to him, the time he's invested. Credit to him for his ability to really turn it up when he was demanded and called upon in practice to perform and go out there and do it against, our frontline players. So, and he's only getting better as well. He'll tell you right now, there's so many parts of his game he's got to get better at. So, work in progress. Proud of him for what he's done so far. But he well knows, because I'm on him every day, he can expect that. We went to the same high school, so he he's got to keep bringing it, but special future for him.
Any special little, spark when it's a Columbus guy? Oh, extra.
Yeah, there is. But I'm just on him all the time. I guess I'm on everybody, but yeah, absolutely.
How did Jordan Lyle look to you in his first when he came back in the FSU game?
I think he's close. I thought he was close last week. I think he's there now. Excited to see him be fully healthy and go out there and play to his capabilities. People forget that game one, and all those guys are co-starters to us. But when we rolled out there, he took the first couple snaps against Notre Dame. He's a special player. Football hurts, man. Football hurts, and you get nicked up, you get banged around a little bit, and sometimes you could play through it, and sometimes you don't look as good playing through it, and some things take a little bit longer. His took a little bit longer than expected, than even he expected, but it was never a matter of him not trying. He's always worked his butt off. He's a tough-ass dude. He's a driven guy. He's a team guy, and he's ready to roll, so I'm excited to see him.
Mario, how have you and your staff been able to utilize the bye weeks in regards to recruiting, seeing guys? And has that been an advantage that it's been 2 bye weeks close together in terms of recruiting?
You'd like to space it out more. You'd like it almost like a quarter system. But it is what it is. You're only allowed 33 evals. That means, if you count a staff, you send out 10 staff guys on a Wednesday, that's 10 of your 33. So you have to be very strategic. You have to cover a lot of ground. And we did. It's just the balance of making sure that you don't miss any part of our players' development, because we invest a lot in development. We invest a lot in being around our guys. And at the same time, getting to the places we have to get to not only recruit, but to evaluate, right? You want to see these guys that you're recruiting, and how are they performing? Do they respond in competitive situations? How do they play against really good competition? How do they play deep into the season when they're in, a favorable position for the postseason, or whether they're not, right? You want to see their competitive character. So there's really no balance. You just go. Your bye weeks are just as busy, if not maybe even a little bit busier, minus the Saturday, than a regular, in-season week.
You haven't, obviously it's just the one road game so far, and I guess SMU the next
Yeah.
one. That's crazy. How did you assess satellite communication and all that in a true noisy road environment? How did that work?
I think we prepared well. The sound system that we have here, you could turn that thing up to 110 plus decibels, and it was at that. We always research how loud a place can get, and you just, you drown out any potential verbal communication that your staff and your players can have. We make it very difficult on the staff and players, to the point where they're upset, throughout practice, and good. Need to be upset, need to be pissed, need to find a way to make it work, because when we left that stadium, everybody was like, damn, thank God we did that. That really helped us prepare for this game and be successful. Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
we have any questions for offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson.
Shannon, we always think of Jeff as this offensive mastermind, and it seems like he's pretty good on the other side of the ball.
No, they're,
What jumps out?
I mean, they're a complete team. I haven't watched their offense, but defensively, if you just look at the statistics, which tell some of the story, not all of the story sometimes, but number one defense in the ACC, really good on third down, really good on red zone, number one pass defense. I think they're giving up like 230-something yards a game, which is crazy, you know. And so up front, they're really active, really good. The two linebackers have played a lot of snaps. They change up the coverage well. They do a lot of things in the back end. They really know what's going on within the system from what it seems. They have some transfers that have came in and gave them some boost, especially up front. 50 can get after it. He's got a high motor. Defensive line wise, I mean, they get you in some third down situations and they can cause some havoc. Their third down package is good. We got to be prepared for it. There's a well-coached team. I think he's done a good job his whole career, to be honest, everywhere he's been. And so it's been a one-possession game 2 years in a row, and we know that they're going to come in fired up. We're going to be fired up, and it'll be a heck of a game.
That's why we talk a lot about matchups, and you know, some teams just match up better with others. It just seems like this is like a strength versus strength game. You're big on that side of the ball. You're big on the other side of the ball. You're fast. They're fast. It looks like a mirror, kind of, in some ways.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think we're a pretty complete team, and I think they're a pretty complete team. You know, it's just, sometimes it comes down to who plays complementary football the best. And I think if you ask those guys, they'd probably tell you the same. You know, if we take care of the football and we play our best, we probably have a chance to win the game. And so ultimately we feel very similar. I think that, you know, we have to do a good job of taking care of the football, which we have for the most of the year, and do a great job in the red zone of getting touchdowns. You know, touchdowns over field goals are huge.
Shannon, maybe what's the word? But anyway, it seems like you're using a lot. I can't think of the right word. But just confirmation bias is what I'm looking for.
Right.
It seems like you're using a lot of like condensed sets, bunch formations this year. Just what advantage comes with that? Like obviously, there's a lot of talk over the last 5-10 years about spreading the field as wide as possible.
Yeah.
So going back the opposite direction, like what advantages does that have?
I think there's advantages of both, and I think mixing it up well is really good. Getting in different formations, getting in different personnel groupings. I mean, we've used some 2-back sets with tight ends and receivers, and we've used some 11 personnel, 12, 12H, and so trying to mix up as much personnel groupings as we can to get our best playmakers on the field, and also trying to mix up the sets all across the board. But I do think, you know, when you're trying to block safeties, you know, you get closer to them. And so those receivers, if we're going to go in there and commit to blocking safeties at times, which we will, those sets tend to get those guys closer to block them. And you can do some really cool play action stuff out of that. You know, it limits what the defense can do coverage wise. You know, if you look at those sets when they get condensed, typically they have a couple things they go to that they like. And so you can kind of forecast what they're going to do in those sets to get the extra hat in a certain place. But I do love open sets too. You know, I like both.
And then, I mean, obviously, like you said, you have a lot of diversity in your play calling in different formations. So now that you've been here for 3 years, Mario's been here for 4 years, you've been able to recruit the guys who you want. How much does that help you be able to line up, you know, not be limited by your personnel, to be able to line up kind of in all these different ways?
I think it's vital. And I think that you go into games and the flow of the game dictates a lot. I know I talk a lot about that and people probably get tired of that, but it's true. I don't really go into games thinking that, okay, we're going to run it this many times and throw it this many times. A lot of it is dictated about how the defense is playing us, how well we're doing something, and just the overall flow of the game. And so there's a lot of different, I guess, pathways when the game starts that the game call can go. And I think that's the beauty of football, in my opinion, is the artist's work of how the game lays out. And so I appreciate that, and I think that's an artwork type deal.
I asked Mario this too. In the last year, top offense in the country, and a lot of people were involved in that.
Yeah.
This year, numbers are great again. A lot of people involved in that. How hard is? I don't want to say how hard. Does any part of it surprise you in the sense that you have kids that are buying in when they're playing for money, and when, to a certain level at least, what they make is based on stats, and not every kid's getting the stats he wants all the time, and yet you guys don't seem to mind that. How do you get 20-year-olds to have that thinking?
I think they're getting coached by quality people. I think our assistant coaches do a heck of a job handling their rooms, which when you stack talent in rooms, you have to manage that talent. You can't just bring it in and let it be, right? And so the overall messaging of those guys, from Coach Cristobal to myself with the unit and to their position coaches, is of a servant mentality, a selfless mentality, of more so win matters more than stats. Now, that's easy to say, but ultimately you have to have your best players buy into it, and then the flow of the narrative gets stronger. And I do think that we've gotten very fortunate that in recruiting, Coach does a really good job of finding not only the most talented guys for what we do, but the guys that have the right character for what we want. And that's probably as important as the athletic part of it, is just the mental part of it. And we've brought high school guys in and transfer guys in that have assimilated into the culture, and when they walk through the doors, they do understand that they are going to have to sacrifice some of their self for the overall team, and that is late transfer guys specifically, but high school guys too. We are very honest with them. We tell them, look, man, we have a very talented room. This is an opportunity to be a part of something great. About how much of a part of it is really up to you. Like, we'll give you this opportunity. All we can give you is shoulder pads and a helmet and an opportunity. And what you do with that is really what you do with it. And so, but I do think the overall leadership of the rooms is a vital factor in what you're talking about.
How good was it to get Jordan Lyle back in the FSU game, and what did you see from him in the limited amount of snaps he was able to get in there?
I know what he's capable of, and I know he's capable of more than what he did that game, and I'm looking forward to it. He's a very motivated and brings to the game, and I'm excited about him being healthy and ready to roll.
Just getting him back healthy and having that rotation that you like at running back with 7 straight games left in the regular to close out the regular season, is how important is it to rotate guys, keep guys healthy and everything.
At that position, I talk about it all the time, but at that position specifically, you need a handful of guys. That position takes a lot of abuse. Their job description is detailed and rough, and so sharing that is important to me. And I don't think that having one guy carry it 30 times is smart. I think spreading those carries out, and Matt does a great job throughout the course of the game. He manages those reps, and he can feel who's hot and who's really feeling it. And he does a great job of gravitating to that guy when we need it. And he just has a knack for that, and, we just let him roll with it, really.
Just along those lines, how's JoJo practicing these days? Is he getting, better integrated? Or?
He is. He's had a very good week last week. We've had some very good talks. I love the kid. He's had a very good week of practice, really good day to day. I look forward to him finishing this week and making some plays.
And like you talk about running back, having just that other weapon on the outside, and I know Josh hasn't really played a ton, and you've got other guys too, but now you've got a stretch here where you're going to be playing a lot of games in consecutive fashion. How much would that help you take the offense to the next level? No,
I think those guys are going to continue to play more and more. A lot of it has to do with how the games go. The Florida State game, we didn't run a lot of plays. We only ran about 60 plays or so. And part of that was, we had a lead in the fourth quarter. We didn't play very well. And so ultimately we do want those guys rolling in. If you look at that game, it was really a story of like 3 quarters to, I mean, we were scoring pretty quickly when we got the ball, like one play, and then we hit it, like, so we weren't just manufacturing 13-play drives or 11-play drives. A lot of times we do that. Like, that's kind of how our offense has been. We kind of grind out drives, and because the nature of which defenses play us, they're trying to keep the top of the coverage. So we've been grinding out drives, so when you play more plays, there's more opportunity to play. In that particular game, it just so happened that we were getting some chunk plays and drives were happening pretty quickly. And so we didn't have a lot of plays in that game. Now, part of it is the fourth quarter, we didn't play very well. We got to play better in the fourth quarter. We got to finish better. And that's on coaches and players, everybody together. But as the season goes, those guys have shown the ability to make plays in games. If you look back through the Notre Dame and whatever games, I mean, they have all made plays. And so they're going to continue getting those opportunities to make more and more plays. I want them in the game more.
How is it possible? Go ahead, sorry.
How important was it just in that Florida State game? They approached things differently than, like you were saying, than other defenses with wanting you to test them downfield. How important was it for you or the team to show that you can play that way as well, multiple ways of offense?
I do think that having, the ability to do both is very important. I think that's how we are uniquely built to be able to do both. And so if you look at some of the key situations this year, I mean, the Florida game, we needed a drive and we ran it about 10 plays in a row with a couple passes sprinkled in, third downs or whatever. The couple passes were huge in those drives, but we grinded it out, right? And so ultimately, the flow of the game and how people are going to play us, you figure that out through the very first parts of the game. And if they're going to sit there, and a lot of it does have to do with just numbers. Sometimes we're going to run it no matter what, but not all the time. And so we're not going to beat our head against a wall either. And so if they're committed to doing something numbers-wise that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, then we're going to try to take advantage of it in other ways. And we have the ability to do that. Not everybody has the ability to be productive in both, in my opinion. So I do take pride in the fact that our offense can cut you a couple different ways.
Did you know when you got him? That Carson? I mean, he's obviously very, very good. Did you know he was this accurate when you got him? I mean, he hasn't missed on many.
No, he's a very accurate thrower of the football. I mean, watching his film, it did stick out that he had some high-end accuracy. He's very accurate down the field. And I think you can see when we do throw it vertical, a lot of times it's right on the money. And so even the one that we threw to Malachi early in the game, like the number 3 did a great job catching back up, but that was a really accurately thrown ball. And even the flea flicker, I mean, it wasn't open by much. I mean, that had to be a fairly accurate throw on that because they did retrace pretty quickly. And so he is an accurate thrower down the field. And so he can make all the throws, obviously. And our O-line does a great job of keeping the pocket clean, which is very important. Nobody's accurate if the pocket isn't clean. Keep saying that, but that's true. But he did show that on his film. I mean, I did see a guy that was very accurate in the pocket, very accurate on intermediate routes, and threw a very good deep ball. That's a couple things that obviously stuck out from just recruiting him.
Because you brought about the flea flicker call, was that something you saw kind of in the moment, or was that something in your pocket that you thought would work that night?
I thought it would work that night. I mean, the way that they were going to play defense, I had a feeling that they were going to be pretty aggressive in the back end. So it was just something I thought that at some point throughout the game, if the situation presented itself, we would have an opportunity to hit it.
The quick game, I know it was a numbers thing, right? The quick game against Florida State,
yeah.
Spitting it out. Was that one of the better executed quick games since you've been here?
Probably this year specifically, yeah. And maybe since I've been here. I mean, there was a lot of spitting the ball out and getting 6 to 7 to 8 yards. And a lot of times, we didn't necessarily have perfect leverage, but the throw and the timing was so sharp that it ended up getting positive yards. And I think that was, and the blocking on the perimeter has been really good all year. And I do think that that's a element of our offense that I put that really into running yards. You know, I mean, it's basically an extended handoff. If they're going to sit there and stack the box, and you can just spit it out there and get 5 or 6 yards, or heck, you know, you might get more, right? And so it's just basically what you were saying earlier is it's a way to make us play the whole field.
Awesome, one it there. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Good. Are there any questions for defensive coordinator Corey Hetherman?
Corey, talk a little bit about Jeff Brom, and you know, he's well known as one of the better play callers in college football. What makes him so difficult to defend?
You know, I think they're very balanced. They attack you a lot of different ways. You know, formationally, personnel-wise, how they match up their scheme. There's compliments to everything, and I think he does a really good job.
What have you seen just from on film from Louisville's offensive line? Because they're, I mean, PFF's just one way of grading people, but they don't score very highly on there.
Yeah, you know, I think they're a group. They run the stretch play. They run some of the zone stuff very well. I do think they work well together. I think they have handled some different looks, you know, pressure-wise, that have been harder looks. They've bumped it. They've passed things off. You know, I think it's a group that every week when you watch them, they improve. They're getting a little bit better. You know, and I think especially coming off a bye week right now, they've had extra time to go through and kind of get our looks into practice. So I'm experienced going to be, you know, I think they'll be ready to go for Friday night.
on your defensive line, obviously there's so much attention that's been on Ruben and Akeem, but the guys who come in, rotated in, guys like Marquise Lightfoot, Armando Blunt, how have they developed, and how have some of the younger guys like maybe Cole McConaughey or some of the freshmen who kind of developed over the past 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, that's been the number one thing since January is continue to develop our roster, continue to build our roster, push our guys, everywhere, in the meeting room, in the weight room, walkthroughs, a lot of the reps that we had last week in practice, developing our younger players, constantly trying to get them, to get better at fundamentals and techniques. And that's where, I think different things that you've seen with Armando Blunt or Lightfoot or Malik. There's a lot of different guys that you throw in their third. They're constantly getting better with their hand placement. They're constantly getting better with their technique. They're constantly playing with better pad level. And, I think those are guys that right now we could put on the field. We'd feel very comfortable with them. The hard thing is you got some guys in front of them that are playing at a very high level right now.
How much does it help them? I mean, one, you were working with Jason Taylor, I'm sure is a huge boon, but then getting to see guys like Ruben, who's a third-year guy, Akeem hasn't always been here, who's been playing college ball for 6 years. How much does it help to be around those veteran guys with a lot of experience?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing in college football is you have guys that have gone to college and developed. And they've been in a college weight room and they have accumulated reps, whether it be a practice rep or a walkthrough rep or a game rep, no matter what opponent that is. And I think that's, as you look at college football, that's where guys develop and get better and grow every single year. And then I think the thing that we have right now with our players is we got older guys that are constantly bringing up the younger guys. Like last week we did different scenarios where older guys are coaching up the younger guys on the field. They're, I thought it was interesting a couple of times. Hey, what play call do you like right now? You kind of get to see, okay, who's, similar to what we're doing right now, or see different ideas that they have and, a different way that they might look at it, and opens up my eyes to different things. But I think just in general of developing, especially up front on the defensive line, is, the more that you play, the more that you develop. I mean, a lot of these guys are getting to college 17, 18 years old. Now you're 20 years old, 21 years old. You got experience, you got weight room, you got nutrition. It's a completely different player than when you show up on a college campus. And that's, the biggest thing, developing our younger players and having the opportunity to play behind guys that are playing at a very high level right now, constantly being able to learn from how they're attacking it, how they go about the weight room, how they go about film review, how they attack practice. And then now learning from that and developing as a player themselves.
Through 5 games, how would you evaluate both Wes and Mo at linebacker?
No, I think we're getting better as a unit communicating. I think we're getting better as a unit working together. And I think it's really all the different guys that have played in that group, whether it's Wes, it's Mo, it's Popo, it's Chase, it's Jalen. We've had a handful of guys get opportunities in that group. And I think just working together with, all three levels, really communicating with our safeties. I think you can see them getting more comfortable. They're playing a little bit faster every week. And there's been little things that we need to continue to tweak and, clean up every single week. There's been, last week in the first series of the game, we had something we had to clean up. Florida, that first drive of the second half, we had a couple misfits. We had a couple of communication errors. And those are just different things. I think like having a bye week and, getting those guys in and just putting the tape on and having them have the opportunity to talk it out. Why, what did you see here? Okay, this is what I saw. Okay, and then, now have us as a coach maybe step in. Okay, why did you see it that way? Why did you see it that way? And now I think guys that have had a lot of college experience now working together and becoming more experienced together, I think will only help those guys continue to play faster. But like Wes is a guy, like his hands, how physical he's playing right now, how he's pursuing the football. I think Mo is a guy that plays very, very fast. I think he's been more detailed with his eyes, and I think his game's constantly, going to the next level. And I think overall in the room, I think that it's been improving.
What type of challenge does Louisville's skill on offense present?
Yeah, I think they have really good players on the perimeter. I think the running back can hit a home run at any point. I mean, you kind of watch the JMU game, and all of a sudden it's 21-14. One play later, it's 28-14. At any point, he can have an explosive play. I look at the wide receivers on the perimeter are, they're dynamic and they're different style of players. I think one of them has like 7 or 8 touches a game, and he's a big play potential at any point. He goes up and challenges for those challenges with the ball in the air. And I just think, between the way he runs and how big he is, he's going to be a challenge. And same thing, their slot. I think he's a dynamic player. They use him in the backfield. They use him out on the perimeter. They get him the ball in space. They run option routes. And he can take the top off. You see him, get vertical and get behind defenses at times. So I do think they do a really good job of using their players on the perimeter.
You talked about young guys a few minutes ago. Another young guys come in immediately and made an impact. Bryce Fitzgerald. Just what did he have to do to basically hit the ground running and work his way into the rotation to get on the field so quickly?
Yeah, he's a guy that, he joined us in the summer. And I just think, he attacked the playbook. He understood the concepts, understands multiple positions. So he has a really good idea of what's going on around him. What's the safety next to him doing? What's the linebackers in front of him doing? What's the corners doing in these plays? And I think that has helped him to play fast. And then I just think his ability to go attack the football is, it shows up in practice. And I think I've said it in the past. In camp, the ball always found him. It's kind of been the same thing in the season right now. The ball always finds him, and he makes the play. He attacks it. He high points it. And, when it happens in practice, it happens on, hopefully this week on Friday night, normally on a Saturday. And it's been something where, I think in this style of defense, that's been a position where we've had guys make a lot of plays. And you can go back to last year, we had a freshman All-American. You can go back to the years before that, we had 3 safeties in a row that are all active and starting on NFL rosters. Even if you go all the way back to like JMU. We had safeties that were constantly around the football, constantly making plays at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. And I think that's something that he's, understood the concepts and the scheme right away, and it allows him to play really fast. And I think that's one thing is you can have young guys on this defense come in and contribute early on in their career, and I think that's something he's taken advantage of.
Is Ruben, to this point of the season, playing about as well as any defensive player you've been around in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what he's doing right now at the line of scrimmage, both in the run game and the pass game, and there's still things we're always going to clean up and correct, but how physical he's been at the line of scrimmage, his technique, his pad level, his ability to read, run the pass, get off the football. And, I really think it goes back like today, just sitting back in practice. And, usually I'm trying to chase the ball or, swarm to the ball or, he's a guy you never have to get on. Like the way he practices on, Monday, the way he practices on Tuesday is exactly what you're going to get on the weekend or on Friday night or on Saturday. And, that's why he's playing at the level he's playing at right now. And he's constantly improving his hand placement. He's constantly improving his pad level, his separation, his ability to defeat the block and tear off. And, I think that's why he's playing at such a high level right now.
And, obviously, I think there were 16, 17 pro scouts out there today, and it's drawing a lot of attention. How's that impacting Mesidor, who's playing at a pretty high level as well?
Yeah, you want to talk about a guy that's going to be in the right spot. Like, that's what Mez is right now. Mez knows the calls. He knows what's going on around him. He's a very smart football player. And just the way that he attacked this offseason to put himself in the spot he's in right now, physically, taking care of his body with his nutrition, with the weight room. And then that's why he's playing at the level he's playing at right now. And he can do so many different things within the defense. We can use him inside, we can use him outside. His ability to work off the edge. He's dropped at different times, really both guys. And that's something where he just brings so much position value and versatility, where he's going to be a guy that's going to be successful no matter what happens, just because of the way he attacks it day to day and how he goes about the process.
Corey, you worked with Kurt Zignetti at JMU. He got Indiana up to number 3 in the country right now. Is that looking at that, seeing how well he's done so fast there, is that surprising that he's able to turn around that program so fast?
No, I think, it's how he goes about the process. It's how he goes about the day-to-day and that staff, and, just knowing a lot of, even some of the players that they had that they took. That's just, what it was. It was all about the process every day and constantly focusing on that and getting better. So.
Awesome one. Very nice question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.